everybody, my name is Kyle3639. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, it's another card analysis video, and in this one, it's going to be on the new Gizmek support that was announced a couple weeks ago to be coming out in Dawn of Majesty. Now, they're getting 4 new monsters and a new field spell for the archetype. Now, Gizmek has always been one of those archetypes, technically, to always be, like, not as good as you think, because all of them have, like, really high level monsters that have specific way to special summon themselves, but none of them have really been used throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! There's only been one, and that's been Gizmek Sasushi, I think it's what it's called. It's the level 8 that gets to banish 8 face down as a quick effect. We've seen that been used in something like Grand Maju decks over the years, so that is like literally the only Gizmek card that's been played ever, kind of thing. All the other ones have been really too niche. But now, with the new archetypes that give them a level 1, 2, 3, and level 4, the archetype is now going to get more noble summonable monsters to help them get out those bigger monsters. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the cards. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the new cards. Again, like I said, there are 4 new monsters and a new field spell for the entire archetype. So the first one we're going to cover is Gizmek Inimba. Again, they could be switching their names in the actual set itself, but this is the level 1 for the archetype. So it has 2 effects, and you can only use this card's name's second effect once per turn. So if this card is normal summon, you can special summon 1 machine monster from your hand whose attack equals its own defense in defense position. That's actually very good because all the Gizmeks have attack that equal their defense position. Like even the newer supports do, and then the old supports, if you look through them, all their attacks equal their defense. So that's actually pretty good for the archetype. You can normal summon this, special summon a Gizmek. Very, very good. So that's its first effect. Its second effect, however, is you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target 1 machine monster you control whose attack equals its own defense. For the rest of the turn, you cannot declare attack except with that monster. Also, its attack and defense becomes the total original attack of all machine monsters you currently control whose attack equals their own defense. Again, it's not, the second effect is not too good because, again, not really. Why would you do that? You'd only use that effect unless they have some huge monster that you can't get over, but you can, if you do this effect, that gets its attack just about over that really big monster. But besides that, there's really no reason to use its second effect. Its first effect, however, is very, very good just to get more Gizmeks onto the field, and then it's a level 1, so you can pull out things like Link Karibo and Relinquished Anima off it, so that's actually very, very good. Now on to the level 2, which is a Gizmek Naganaki. I think that's how you say that. So you can only use this card's first and second effect once per turn. So they're both hard once per turns. So the first one is you contribute 1 machine monster whose attack equals its own defense. Special summon 1 machine monster from your deck whose attack equals its own defense, but with a lower level than the tributed monster. Okay. So that's not too bad. So you get to tribute 1, basically let's treat it as a Gizmek, because they're like the main reason why these are things. So if you tribute a high level Gizmek monster, you can special summon a lower level Gizmek monster from your deck. That's actually not too bad. And its graveyard effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 face down banished machine monster whose attack equals its own defense to your hand. That's actually not too bad. So basically you get to add 1 face. Damn, that's actually very, very good, especially because of how many Gizmek Orochi has to banish face down, and you play things like Bond of Desires or something like that. This can counteract that. That's actually a very, very good card. So yeah, the level 2, very, very good. Now on to level 3, which is the big bullfrog, is Gizmek Teniguki. Just call it the bullfrog, because that's what it fucking is. So you can only use the following effects once per turn, so they're both hard once per turns. This card is normal or special summon. You can place 1 machine monster from your deck whose attack equals its own defense on the top of your deck. Now that doesn't seem that good of effect until we get into the field spell. So this effect does not come up until we get into the field spell. And then 2, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 machine monster in your graveyard whose attack equals its own defense, special summon it in defense position. So you can banish, so basically this has a Monster Reborn effect for your graveyard. So that's actually very, very, very good. Yeah, the bullfrog is very good. And we'll come back to this first effect once we get into the field spell. But we do got one more monster to cover, however, which is Gizmek Imbuki. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope this is the same thing. Both of the following effects are hard once per turn. So let's see. If you control a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense, special summon this card from your hand. Okay, so that's actually not bad. So that's a way to special summon itself from your hand, so you can storm the field kind of thing. And then 2, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one machine monster you control whose attack equals its own defense. Send one machine monster whose attack equals its own defense, but with a lower level than the target from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, that target gains attack equal to the set monster's level times 100. So that's actually the bottom, like where it gains attack, is not like it's not good, but it's not bad either. But its Foolish Burial effect, however, the one send one machine monster whose attack equals its own defense but lower level than the target, is very good, because you can send one of like lower levels and get their graveyard effects off, which would be very, very good. So that's actually like a very good card for the archetype. It can spell summon itself, and then it can banish itself to Foolish Burial, basically. Very good, very good. Now on to the field spell. So this field spell has 3 effects, but you can only use the first effect once per turn. Okay, so during the main phase, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated machine monster whose attack equals its own defense from your hand. Also banish the rest face down. So basically, it's like a pot of duality effect. So basically, you send the top 3 cards. You pick one Gizmek or one machine whose attack equals its own defense, and then add it to your hand, then banish the rest face down. That's actually not too bad, especially with the Bullfrog. If you activate his effect first, where you place a machine monster with attack that equals its own defense on the top of the deck, and then do this, you're going to get that card no matter what. So that's actually very, very good. But, however, it does have 2 more effects. Each time a machine monster whose attack equals its own defense is normal or special summon, place 1 counter on this card. Okay, so that's actually something. So that's its second effect, and that's not a once per turn. So just every time you normal or special summon a monster whose attack equals its own defense, and it has to be a machine as well, place a counter on this card. Monsters on the field whose attack does not equal its own defense cannot activate their effects while this card has 10 or more counters. Oh shit, that is something. So if you can get 10 counters on this card, oh boy, this basically becomes a VFD of cut-like effect, where as long as their monster does not have attack that equals its own defense, and this thing has 10 counters, you cannot activate that effect. That's something to worry about. I mean, it's not like the worst thing in the world, because 10 counters is a lot, and considering a lot of these Gizmek's effects to like special summon themselves and stuff like that are hard once per turn, you would have to activate something during like your opponent's turn to get this off. So it's kind of one of those things that's like, can you do it in one turn? There's probably going to be a way to do it your first turn. So yeah, this field spell is kind of ridiculous for the archetype. It gets to do that polyduality effect, and then if it has 10 or more counters, your opponent can basically not activate monster effects. That's kind of huge in a way. So yeah, that's an interesting field spell. But that is it for the entire archetype. Let me get into my thoughts now. Is the new Gizmek support good? I think it has potential to actually do something now. Yeah, it's very, very good. They're now adding the level 1s and level 2s and level 3s and level 4s. You know, the normal summonable monsters are very, very good. Because you can normal summon, gain some effect. You can link them off, then afterwards go in, then activate their graveyard effects. Are very, very good. And then the higher level Gizmeks, actually some of them gain effect if you do have monsters in the extra monster zone. I know one of them. Yeah, if there's a monster in the extra monster zone, you can special summon that card straight away. There's one where if you control, or if there's 2 monsters from the extra deck, you can special summon that card, so that can help you get into those types of cards. Then they have their graveyard effects you can start going into. Those are very, very, very good. Then you have the field spell, which is very good for the archetype. You can mill that 3, get one of your Gizmek cards back into your hand, and then if you can get 10 counters on it, it's basically like a VFD, and it's fucking ridiculous. So yeah, it's very, I think the support really does help Gizmek become its own archetype kind of thing, and it might see play. Maybe not straight away, because the format, when it does come out, is going to looking like the new Bandless is coming out, but then again, the Drytrons are getting their new support, which I think that's going to be better than the new Gizmek support, so I'm sorry about that. But it's still a deck I can maybe even see people playing as the next deck to be look out for. I can see that without a doubt being one of those decks just because of how good the lower levels are. But again, I could be wrong about this because again, this comes out, I think it comes out after Lightning Overdrive. I think it comes out in July or around there. I don't know. It comes out in the summer. That's all I know. And so at that point, the format can be completely changed because there is a ban list before this comes out. So this can be totally different once that ban list comes out. But I think has potential. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. I do upload every Monday through Friday. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.